This message is not a coincidence. There's a verse that has quietly reshaped how I think about time. You do not know what will happen tomorrow. You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. James 4:14. That verse can feel unsettling at first, but I don't think it was written to frighten us. I think it was written to wake us up. Most of us move through our days without noticing how quickly they are passing. Childhood felt endless once. Now the years blur together. Deadlines, responsibilities, the quiet hum of busyness that never really stops. Somewhere in the middle of it, without meaning to, we can start living as if we have unlimited time to get around to what matters most. There was a man in one of Jesus' parables who lived that way. He had just brought in the best harvest of his life, and it left him with a simple plan: tear down his barns, build bigger ones, and finally allow himself to rest. He believed there would be time for that, years of it even. But that same night, God spoke to him gently, calling him back to something he had lost sight of. You fool. This very night your life will be demanded from you. I find myself thinking about him often, not with judgment, but with a kind of tenderness. I wonder what he might have done differently if only he had known how little time he actually had. I've caught myself living like that man more times than I'd like to admit. Not with barns or harvests, but with smaller versions of the same plan. Waiting for the right season to finally slow down, to finally call the people I love, to finally stop treating today like a rehearsal for some better day still coming. It's easy to convince yourself there's time. Time to repair what's strained. Time to say what's unsaid. Time to be fully present with the people sitting right in front of you, instead of half present while your mind runs ahead to everything still left to do. And underneath all of it is a quiet belief that tomorrow is guaranteed, that we'll get to it eventually, once things settle down, once life slows on its own. But life rarely slows down on its own. It just keeps moving, gently and constantly, whether we're paying attention or not. I don't think that realization is meant to fill us with fear. I think it's meant to bring us back to what actually matters, before more time quietly slips by unnoticed. And if something in this reflection today feels like it's speaking directly to you, I believe this space can walk with you through many more moments like this one. That's exactly where the man in the parable was standing, the night everything changed for him. There's a scene here worth slowing down for. Jesus tells us about a man whose land produced more than he ever expected. His barns were already full, and yet the harvest kept coming, more than he had room to store. It wasn't a small blessing. It was abundance beyond what he'd planned for Dot. So he began talking to himself, working out a solution. What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. Then, almost immediately, the answer came to him. Tear down the old barns, build bigger ones, gather everything in one place. And once that was settled, he pictured what came next: years of ease, comfort, and enjoying everything he'd accumulated. You have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. It's a quiet, ordinary kind of dream. Comfortable, reasonable even. He wasn't reckless or cruel. He was simply a man who had worked hard, succeeded, and was finally looking forward to enjoying the fruit of it. I imagine that dream felt entirely reasonable to him, the kind any of us might have without a second thought. Here's the detail I keep coming back to. If you read the parable closely, the man never once turns to God, not in his planning, not in his excitement, not even in the quiet moment before disaster. He speaks to himself instead. What shall I do? He asks. I will do this, he decides. Every sentence circles back to the same two words, I and my. I don't think that was meant to make him look selfish so much as familiar. It's easy to plan an entire life around what we'll build, what we'll store, what we'll finally enjoy, without ever pausing long enough to ask what God might want to say about any of it. There's an old kind of wisdom, the kind Solomon wrote about after chasing wealth and pleasure himself. That says all our striving, gathered and hoarded, is like grasping at wind if it isn't rooted in something eternal. And then comes the question God asks the man that night, the one that quietly undoes his whole plan. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? Not, was it wrong to work hard? Not, was it wrong to plan? Just a gentle, piercing question about where his soul had actually been resting all along. I think that question is worth sitting with longer than we usually allow ourselves to. So here's the question worth sitting with. Why did God call this man a fool the very night he thought he had finally secured everything? I don't think it was because he was wealthy, and I don't think it was because he made plans. Working hard, saving, building something for the future, none of that is wrong on its own. I think the real issue was quieter than that. His entire plan, from beginning to end, revolved around himself, his barns, his crops, his comfort, his rest. Nowhere in that inner monologue was there room for God, and nowhere was there room for anyone else either. He wasn't just storing grain. He was quietly organizing his whole life around a version of himself that never had to answer to anyone. Maybe you've done something similar, just with different materials. Maybe it isn't grain or money for you. Maybe it's time. You keep telling yourself there will be time later for the people you love, time later to slow down, time later to actually live instead of just preparing to live. Or maybe it's attention. You give your best hours and your sharpest focus to everything except the relationships that actually matter, promising yourself you'll show up fully once things calm down. The real obstacle in this story isn't ambition, and it isn't success. It's the quiet habit of living as though today is only a rehearsal, and the meaningful part of life is always still ahead of you, just past whatever you're currently building. Solomon learned this the hard way too. He had wealth, achievement, and pleasure in every form available to him, and after all of it, he wrote that chasing those things without God at the center felt like chasing after the wind. Nothing he built could hold the weight his soul was actually asking for. And here's what makes all of this bearable instead of frightening. We don't know how many days we have left, and we were never meant to carry that uncertainty on our own. If we belong to Christ, our future isn't actually uncertain at all. It's already secure in Him, regardless of how many mornings we're given here. God is still asking that same gentle question today, not to condemn how we've lived, but to interrupt it before more time slips by unnoticed. He isn't asking you to abandon your work or your plans. He's asking you to make room for Him inside of them, and to stop treating the people you love as something you'll finally prioritize someday. Someday isn't promised. Today is what you actually have. And it's safe to hold on to today, because your tomorrow already rests in His hands. Let's stop planning for someday and bring today, just today, before God. Father, thank you for the reminder that our days are a mist, here for a while and then gone. Thank you even more for the truth that our future doesn't depend on how many of those days we're given, because it depends on you. The same way you spoke to that man about his barns and his plans, you're speaking to us now about ours, not to frighten us, but to bring us home to what actually matters. Lord, for the person who has been quietly living for someday instead of today, waiting for the right season to finally rest, finally call the people they love, finally slow down, I ask that you interrupt that waiting gently. Help them see that today, this ordinary day, is not a rehearsal. It's the life you've actually given them. For the one who has built their sense of security around what they can store up, whether that's money, achievement, or control, I pray you would show them what Solomon learned the hard way, that none of it can hold the weight only you were meant to carry. For anyone who feels afraid when they think about how short life is, I ask that you replace that fear with the same peace this man never had, the certainty that comes from belonging to you. Whatever tomorrow holds, Let them rest knowing it already rests safely in your hands. And for anyone who needs to hear it plainly today, remind them that it isn't too late to stop talking only to themselves and start bringing their plans, their fears, and their someday to you instead. In Jesus' name, amen. Maybe you found this video today already tired of running from one someday to the next, quietly hoping there might be a better way to live than always preparing and never actually arriving. Choosing today instead of chasing tomorrow isn't easy either. Even the man in this story spent years building toward a future he never got to see. But his story doesn't have to be where yours ends. You can start choosing today, one ordinary morning at a time. You don't have to fix your entire relationship with time this week. You don't have to suddenly feel at peace with how short life is. You just have to be willing to let today matter, instead of waiting for a someday that was never actually promised to you. If this is where you find yourself right now, write it in the comments. Today matters. Your words might remind someone else, scrolling through their own version of waiting, that they're not the only one choosing to slow down. If you know someone who's been living for someday instead of today, someone who keeps postponing the people and the faith that matter most, send them this video. It might be exactly the gentle interruption they need. If you want to keep hearing messages that bring you back to what actually matters, this channel is made for you. Subscribe to Moments with the Father, and let's walk this journey together every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for letting God speak to you in this moment. You were never promised tomorrow, but you were given today. And today is enough, because your tomorrow already belongs to Him. God is not done with your story.